Everybody's taking shots at Ole Miss, and hey, we got some game times, gents, set for Week 1, College Game Day, all of it coming your way. It is time to get the squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What's up, everybody? It is time to get our squad together here. Time to talk all things SEC. So pop open a cold one and enjoy us as we take you through some big topics going on around the Southeastern Conference. Joining us on the squad this week, we got our guy Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss, Corey Burton from Locked On Vanity, Jimmy Stein from Locked On Bama. I'm Chris Gordy from Locked On SEC. I've had some people in the comments saying, where are the other people? I thought this was a squad. Look, the invite is always open. It's just people are busy. They got kids. They got soccer. They got everything else. But I promise we will have some rare faces joining us in the next couple of weeks on the squad show, so keep it locked to that. But, guys, plenty of action and big topics happening this week around the SEC. Everything from a star running back getting shot to getting game times announced. But I want to start with what happened on Monday and Tuesday of this week with shots fired at Ole Miss. And having Stephen here, I thought would be great to get his perspective. It started with Lane Kiffin in a Vanity Fair piece. And look, no surprise. Lane we knew this was coming. This won't be the last time Lane takes shots at Ole Miss. But a little surprising on Tuesday when we hear that Steve Sarkisian takes a shot at Ole Miss, saying that they offer basket weaving for their classes over there. So, Stephen, what do you make of all the attention Ole Miss is beginning this week?
First of all, I want to thank Steve Sarkisian for doing that recruiting commercial for Ole Miss, because I'm sure definitely high-caliber athletes that are great at football really want to get into major A&P and talking about these super hard courses in college. So thank you for saying that that's not an option at Ole Miss. Now, seriously, listen, when Ole Miss told Lane Kiffin if he took another job, he wasn't coaching the playoffs, you basically ensured that this was going to happen. There has been an obsession by Lane Kiffin with hurting Ole Miss over the course of the last 4 or 5 months. He's almost focusing on Ole Miss too much, if I was an LSU fan, to be comfortable. But when it comes down to this situation, he was almost universally panned by everybody out there. It's one of those things where he may have went just a little bit too far, but just like our friend Locked On Gamecocks, Chris Marley, wrote a column saying, should they cancel the game basically because of all the toxicity that's going on and what Lane Kiffin has put into it. I think it needs to calm down. It needs to cool off just a little bit. Whoever's at LSU needs to tell him just to not worry about it and focus on this supposedly better job than what you left, as opposed to looking at Ole Miss and Ole Miss needing to fail more than LSU being successful for yourself. That is the weird thing. I do like that after this was all over, the national media, everybody was basically all pro Ole Miss. I like that Lane Kiffin had to basically do a do-over and then do a do-over for the do-over in his reaction show interview of what was going on. But when it comes down to, whenever September 19th gets here, that night game day is going to be there in town. That is going to be an absolute zoo. And it's just like I've told everybody. Whenever Ole Miss played Tennessee in 2021, that was Lane Kiffin's first trip back to Knoxville since that weird situation there. It was like 10 years. This is going to be like 10 months since it happened. So I think that can be ratcheted up quite a bit. It's going to be a zoo. You're almost going to have to deal with all the fights in the Grove and in the stadium. It's going to be a weird night. Now, personally, you couldn't find me within 100 miles of that stadium because nothing good can come from that. But it's going to be a crazy game. It's going to be a circus. Ole Miss came out of this week looking fantastic. I'm happy about that. And, hey, Lane Kiffin gave us some content for a couple of days.
Yeah, I'd say this is like the motive behind that is just odd, because it's like, why go to Vanity Fair and do all of this? I don't know where Lane Kiffin thought it would be. I mean, I know why Lane Kiffin thought it would be, because he's all about himself and he wants to kind of put all that out there and try to make himself look good in this whole divorce. But like, man, you're just adding fuel to the fire, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Jimmy, feel free. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Saying my experience with Lane, at Tennessee, at Southern Cal, to some extent, Alabama, definitely Ole Miss. Lane sort of shows up and he's the bomb because things go really, really well. And then it comes time to leave and he becomes a bomb and just sort of destroys everything. That's why Tennessee was angry. That's why Southern Cal was a mess. He gets fired at Alabama in the midst of Alabama's playoff run. And now we see the damage in the wake of leaving Ole Miss. It's just a pattern. And, it'll be interesting to watch it repeat itself again down the road with LSU. I think it's going to go extremely well early. It always does. And boy, at the end, it's a mess. That's the way it's always worked, really, to this point. I guess Florida Atlantic was somewhat spared. I don't know if LSU will be, but this just seems to be a pattern with Lane.
Yeah, to Steven's point, too, I mean, I thought when I heard they were going to do this piece in Vanity Fair on him, I'm going, why? Like, the whole point of going to LSU is LSU recruits itself. Les Miles, Ed Ogeron. I mean, all these guys put together great top 10 recruiting classes because, one, there's great talent in the state of Louisiana. You don't need to go out there and keep putting yourself out there and doing all this stuff. I know people say it's his ego and that kind of thing, but I also do think that the conversation about the player and the grandparents are going, oh, Mississippi, how they are. I don't doubt that conversation probably happened, but it's also probably one out of every 50 or 80 or 100. So it's a story that reflects, yes, Ole Miss and many SEC schools have problematic pasts. It also reflects how far we've come and how much progress we've made. Ole Miss got rid of the Confederate flag years ago, like all this stuff. And so it is kind of a poo-poo on, hey, we have made tremendous progress. You're acting like they haven't. And again, it's a dig at Ole Miss. It's unnecessary. You went to LSU to go take the LSU job. Worry about LSU and kick butt at LSU. Do your thing.
Yeah, he's like on Seinfeld, they call him, he's a bad breaker-upper.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely is. Now,
love the Seinfeld reference.
I was talking with some people at the Grove Collective that has to deal with every recruit that is recruited. Anytime an offer gets extended, anytime something's going on, they have to go. They said that Lane Kiffin in 6 years did not mention any of this one time. Not at all. This never came up. Now, he mentioned stadium size at Ole Miss. He mentioned lack of student attendance. He mentioned everything. That's what Lane Kiffin does. He complains about stuff like that. So if something like this happened, this big, he would have absolutely said something to somebody else to make sure that it could go away a little bit and alleviate the pressure. The fact that the collective had no idea, got completely blindsided by that article and what was said makes me think that honestly it was kind of a lie. And another pretty successful coach from Ole Miss's past in recent history was asked how many times did that even come up back then. This was like in the 2010s, and that time he said it happened exactly one time, and I can remember how it went, because that was how rare and how much it stood out even 20 years ago.
Well, but there was a guy on social media that said, my brother was a basketball player. He was down to Ole Miss in Minnesota. And he said his dad said, well, if you go to Ole Miss, we're not going down there, blah, blah, blah. And again, it was a black player. But I think that says more about your family and your parents and their perspective of holding the pass. You know what I mean? Like holding the pass, as opposed to, why don't you go visit Oxford? Why don't you go see how it is now in 2026, as opposed to the old stigma? And that's where I think the conversations are very gray, right, guys? Like we think of it all, it's this or this, and that's how social media arguments are made. But there's nuanced conversation to be had. And like I said, I just feel like, look, we can bring up the past of any. If you're a university that's been open since the 1800s, guess what? You're going to have a problematic past, something in your past that you don't like at your school. But I just think that it's all these schools, in particular Ole Miss, have come so far that I feel like it poo-poos the progress they've made. I mean, they begged Stephen A. Smith to come there, and we want to show you how great Oxford is in the year 2025, 2026, you know?
Yeah. Lane Kiffin did make one big, like huge mistake in that Vanity Fair thing. He called Ole Miss segregated. He actually used that phrase. And that is a weaponized word when it comes to Deep South and whenever you do that. And it is going to stir up some feelings, especially on somebody like Ole Miss being as image conscious as they are, especially about that. It is one of the most progressive places I've been to in the state of Mississippi because they are so concerned about what happened in the 1960s and 1950s and all that time frame. The word using segregation, that is the reason the backlash happened. That word, that the rumor is, and listen, he never does anything willy-nilly. He has a backup plan of everything. And I guarantee you he is going to basically copy that line that's had segregation and is going to go out in every negative recruiting thing that he can do. Because over the last weeks, Ole Miss has made up a lot of ground on the road. Texas players all of a sudden visiting Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss players getting LSU 5-star offensive linemen to come visit. All of this is started with the momentum. This feels like a coordinated effort to kind of try and stunt that momentum.
And that's a big, big weapon to use too. And it's sad that he has to resort to that because, like you said, Chris, at the top of this whole thing, LSU recruits itself. LSU
is winning solves everything too. If Pete wins at Ole Miss, guess what? He's going to get big time recruits. If Lane wins at LSU, he's going to get big time recruits. So I mean, maybe all this is for nothing, but again, it's just more of Lane, the unnecessary spotlight. You're already at the spotlight. Yeah,
that's what it is. It's the Lane Kiffin circus.
Yeah, and he took September 19th, and as Chris Marler said, took the fun out of it. It's officially a war at that.
Well, real quick on that point, because I was going back and forth with somebody on social media today, and I've seen a lot of Ole Miss fans saying, "Oh, we're gonna give it to him that day," and all this. And look, you want to boo the hell out of him, you want to cheer for your team, all that's fine. The thing I didn't like that I've seen from a few people on social media is, "Oh, he thought it was bad getting golf balls thrown at him. Wait till he comes to Oxford." I'm going, wait a minute, like, do you really want to inflict physical harm on the guy? And I'm sure the answer is to several Ole Miss fans out there, yes. I just think that's a bad road to go down. We don't want to start having coaches physically harmed because then you talk about ruining it for everybody. That's ruins it for everybody.
Golf ball is the Philadelphia hello. So
yeah, the burners that are saying that on social media and on X, they're not going to be able to afford the ticket to that game. They're not going to be in the stadium. And the frat boys and the students that could do something, they're in the end zone. And if anybody has an arm to get a golf ball 30 or 40 or 50 yards downfield and hit their target, maybe Pete Golding needs to give that person a call to begin with, because that would be an unbelievable throw. It's going to be fine. Lane's going to be fine. It's far more concerning to me. There's going to be episodes in the bleachers. There's going to be the Grove's going to be a war zone that day, especially with the night game. That's more what I'm worried about. But Lane's going to be fine. Lane's always fine. And I think Lane knows he's going to be fine, or he wouldn't be doing the stuff.
Yeah, let's just ask everybody to drink responsibly that day. I'm sure that message will work, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen.
When we return, guys, we do have some game times announced for us and networks and all that. So we got some hype building for the start of the season. We'll get to that coming up next year on your Locked On SEC Squad show. Hey, but first, guys, I want to let you know about our friends over at Rocket Money. If you have ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You are not alone. I'm sure our guy, Corey Burton, has done that a time or two. But that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place, keeping track of your subscriptions, your spending, your bills. It can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money is going to do all the work for you. They're going to track your subscriptions in one spot. They can help cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. And it can automatically categorize your spending, and you can actually see where your money is going. You can set budgets, get alerts, stay on top of upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and give you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join today at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That is rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, guys, diving back into it, we did get some TV game times and networks announced for some of the big games. So figure we'll go ahead and take a look at it as well. First off, we got the big announcement that College Game Day is headed to Baton Rouge for week one. Not a big surprise there. We, when you look at the week one slate, it's not as sexy as it's been in years past, so it kind of makes sense they're going to go to Clemson and LSU. Both teams should be ranked. But College Game Day will be there week one. And then the ABC slate, you will get ECU at Alabama. Jimmy, I thought that was kind of interesting, putting Bama on big ABC against somebody like Eastern Carolina, but could be the debut of Keelan Russell. So I like Bama getting the big national stage on ABC with the early game.
Yeah, ABC for East Carolina, that's a little surprising. I can tell you the 11 a.m. kickoff time doesn't go over too well in Tuscaloosa pretty much any time, but especially for September 5th. I haven't looked at the long-range forecast, but I'm assuming it's going to be about 115 degrees. So 11 a.m. is going to be pretty brutal on the fans in attendance. But 11 a.m. for the debut of either Keelan Russell or Austin Mack. And, Alabama hasn't played great early under DeBoer. Obviously, there was the Florida State loss in the opener last year, which was probably Alabama's most poorly played game. The year before, they lost their first road game at Vanderbilt. So, or first SEC road game at Vanderbilt. So, Alabama's going to have to get off to a better start, but they're going to do it in some sizzling heat.
Yeah, it's fun that they get that early one, and we kind of get a little bit of an appetizer to start the day. And then in the afternoon, we'll get Baylor versus Auburn. Now, this one will be in Atlanta. For those who forget, Auburn opened at Baylor last year on a Friday night. This game was supposed to be at Auburn, but the folks in Atlanta stepped in and said, hey, we'll pay you guys a bunch of money for your NIL revenue share and all that if you come over and play in Atlanta. So Baylor versus Auburn, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern on ABC in the afternoon on September 5th. And then Clemson at LSU, the debut of Lane Kiffin, will be that night on ABC. Again, game day in Baton Rouge early in the day, Clemson LSU on ABC that night. And then the next night on September 6th, Stephen, we get Louisville versus Ole Miss over in Nashville, where Pete Golding, his regular season coaching debut, gets his own little platform there on ABC on a Sunday night for everybody to see.
Yeah, the Trinidad Chambliss Heisman campaign, if you want Trinidad to win the Heisman, Ole Miss's schedule is like perfectly lined up for that. There's every week to 2 weeks, there seems to be a marquee matchup, and Louisville versus Ole Miss, the only college game of the day. Everybody is going to be watching that. Everybody knows about the LSU game a little bit later on. Then there's Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma. There's so many opportunities for him to have that Heisman moment. But Ole Miss needs to be careful with Louisville. Jeff Brom, they are known for pulling upsets. They are somebody that can jump up and get you. They're a good football team. I think Ole Miss is going to be talented enough to pull that game off, but that's not a layup opening weekend.
Yeah, then we looked that up on Jeff Brom. I'm pulling it up right now. His coaching the last few years. Let's see. It's something like, he's won 10 games, 9 games, 9 games. So, his 3 seasons at Louisville, he has not won less than 9 games. So, if you're just automatically just penciling, Ole Miss is going to beat the crap out of Louisville. Okay, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see what this Louisville team looks like first, because Jeff Brom has done a great job there. So we'll see. But week 2, guys, we will get. They announced the big noon Fox game, 11 a.m. Central on September 12th will be Oklahoma at Michigan. Look, I think this is one that works in favor for Michigan. For Oklahoma, wouldn't you rather go play Michigan at noon Eastern as opposed to a night game in the Big House?
Noon Eastern is like their normal, though. That's right. That's just a Big Ten thing. So I don't know if the players even know that a night game can be a thing. It's one of those things. I guarantee you Michigan fans want a night game, but that place is going to be pretty jazzed because that's all they get anyway.
Pretty interesting seeing Michigan with Bryce Underwood at quarterback in his year two with the brand new head coach who had good quarterbacks, certainly in his time at Utah, but not really a Bryce Underwood type 5-star. It'd be really interesting to me what does Michigan's offense look like under Kyle Whittingham this fall?
Yeah, and again, it's a big game for John Mateer in Oklahoma. That game last year was a big reason why they made the playoff, and it was a good resume win to go, oh, they beat Michigan in non-conference. The other big game that night will be 6:30 Central. It will be the return game of Ohio State going to Texas. And it's kind of funny, guys. This game last year was the big noon kickoff. So they played it, at Ohio State at 11 a.m. Here, it's going to be a night game in Austin, which the folks at DKR are saying, hell yeah, bring it on, brother. And they did announce College Game Day will be in Austin week 2. So you're going to have College Game Day on campus for Arch Manning hype versus Ohio State, and the buildup for the night game in Austin should be an awesome atmosphere.
I think this was flipped last year, actually. Oklahoma and Michigan down in Norman was the
you're right.
game,
yeah.
and Ohio State and Texas was the big noon game.
There'll be a ton of NFL scouts at Ohio State, Texas, probably fill up half the stadium between all the Texas guys. They got 2 offensive linemen and Arch Manning, and, of course, Ohio State coming in with Julian Sand and their usual fleet of Jeremiah Smith, their usual fleet of projected first-round picks. Lot of scouts in town that night.
Well, what's great about Texas is, none of them major in basket weaving. So it's going to be – the scouts they're really going to be impressed because no basket weaving at Texas. So that's going to be good.
Now, seriously, when it comes down to that, I mean, if your name's not Josh Dobbs, you don't want a place that doesn't offer basket weaving.
Do you think Sark or Will Muschamp's going to Sark going, Sark, when do my guys get out of class? I need to coach them. They're in class. Will, we got to wait. So
don't we need a new reference by now for a crip course or whatever they call them? I mean, don't we need a new reference? We've been using basket weaving, I think, since the 60s, and I don't really think that's offered anywhere.
Here's the bad thing about this. They do above water basket weaving. They don't even get advanced and do underwater basket.
Hey, whenever I was at Ole Miss, when I was at Ole Miss, I took a class called quantitative reasoning. And I kid you not, one of the segments of that class would be something, what are the odds of rolling a 1 on a 6-sided die? I mean, I'm telling every school has courses like this. You just have to find them. It might be called quantitative reasoning. That sounds scary, not hard.
Well, if you remember the old one, when Matt Leinart was at USC his last year, he took ballroom dancing. That was the one that he was taking, and that's what kept him eligible, and he could play another year. So the last game that we know of, guys, September 19th, is they announced LSU and Ole Miss will be on ABC, a 6:30 Central kickoff, so might as well get that out of the way. I did confirm, though, with my friend that works for College Game Day, they announced Game Day is going to Baton Rouge week 1. They announced Game Day is going to Austin week 2. They did not officially announce Game Day will be going to Oxford. He said that is very likely, but they're going to wait till the season to make that official announcement. So it hasn't been officially official, but come on, let's read between the lines. You'd be stupid to go anywhere but Oxford in week 3.
Got to bring Katy Perry back. Got to bring Katy Perry back for that.
That's a must.
Yeah, the funny thing about that game day is going to be there, absolutely. And as far as I've heard rumors and all that, they've already blocked off rooms and all of that for the ESPN crew having that set up, which for that game you absolutely need to do. And the prices are just absolutely stupid at this point. But yeah, it's a situation where game day is going to be there. It's going to be interesting with game day because everybody on the game day set is a CAA client. They are all represented by Jimmy Sexton, who, if you remember at the end of last season, was very pro-Lane and all of this going on, pushing talking points about that, pissed off a lot of Ole Miss fans the way it went down. I am curious to think what game day would look like with that, because there are a lot of fresh scars just from that still.
Let me give you guys the other games that are happening that week. We got FSU at Bama. could be a good one. Both teams could be undefeated. Georgia at Arkansas, that's a weird one. Florida at Auburn, I think, is the most that's one of the most underrated games of the season because it's Summerall versus Golish, and who hired the right.
That'll be the 2:30 game on ABC probably.
But that'll be a big one, and then all the other ones: Kentucky at A&M, NC State at Vandy. So those are the big SEC games. But let's just say, hypothetically, what if LSU loses to Clemson in the opener? What if Ole Miss loses to Louisville? Are they still going to come to game day? What if FSU and Bama are both undefeated? Maybe game day goes there. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
Matt Moscona is going to have all the views if LSU loses to Clemson, because when he fires that Sunday tweet off, it is going to hit like crack to everybody except LSU fans. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. When we return, guys, we'll get you caught up on the one of the big injuries that happened this week in the SEC, and it wasn't on the football field. We'll talk about that next. SEC squad rolling along here. Thank you guys for making us your first listen of the day. Remember, you can become an everydayer. Check us out, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, and find your favorite show, whether it's Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Alabama, or just the SEC as a whole. Become an everydayer and get exclusive content. You get to be in our Discord channel where you get to chat with us one-on-one. You get ad-free versions of the show. Awesome stuff becoming an everydayer. All right, the big news, guys, that happened earlier this week. Ahmad Hardy, the leading rusher in the SEC from a year ago, part of a shooting in his hometown of Mississippi out in Laurel, was at a concert and reportedly got shot in the car driving away up in the upper leg area. He was hospitalized. He had surgery. He's since been released, and Pete Thamel announced earlier this week he's heading back to Como. He's going to start his rehab there at the University of Missouri, and now it's all about how quickly he can rehab and become, get back into football shape. And Eli Drake was saying the other day that, we don't know. It's not guaranteed. He could play football this year. He could not play football this year. We won't know for a couple of weeks. But what do you guys make of a scary situation that I guess could have been a lot worse?
Well, I'm glad it was not worse than it was. I mean, it seems like them releasing him from the hospital so soon could mean, obviously means that it avoided all major arteries and bone structures and mostly just tore through the flesh, and you're just repairing that. So that's the good news. I mean, you never want to get shot, but it's something that, when you see that headline, the first time you see that headline, you're like, oh no, like what's going to, you start getting nervous, like this could be extremely serious. And then the relief of like, okay, he's released from the hospital. He's okay. Now he's going to start his rehab. Like you feel better about that. And I'm rooting for him to play this season. He's a hell of a running back. I mean, he's an absolute beast. I want to see him get back to that beast mode where he can, he can excel on the field. But it's great that he's okay and that he's going to be, making a full recovery.
Yeah, you're talking about one of the best players in this league. If I was filling out a preseason All-SEC team, I mean, I wouldn't even have to look over a list. I mean, at running back, it's Kawan Lacey and Ahmad Hardy. I mean, there's your first team All-SEC backs heading into the season. That's how big a deal that this kid is. He's a remarkable player. A lot of prayers answered here. Just wishing the best for him. Hopefully he'll be back at 100%. But for now, I'm just really happy for him and his family that he was released from the hospital so quickly. That has to be good news.
Yeah, first of all, I hope everything's okay with that. But the worst thing that he can do right now, I know he wants to play week one, whatever's going on. But if you're not quite there yet, don't rush yourself back for something like this. Don't do that to where it can stunt you and cost you from going pro if that is what you want to do. You have to keep that in mind just a little bit. He's a really great player. Take care of yourself, make sure you're all the way back, and then hit the field.
Yeah, and the interesting part, too, if you look at the schedule, the way it sets up for Mizzou, they get Arkansas Pine Bluff in their opener on that Friday of week one. Then they're at Kansas in week two on a Friday, playing Kansas in a Big 12 game. And then it kind of slackens up. I think then week four is Mississippi State in their SEC opener, and then it's Florida week 5. So you kind of start to look at it and go, all right, maybe that's the target date, that if all goes well, we kind of get him back for the grind of the SEC and the backstretch of the schedule. And somebody tweeted, they said, you want to talk about a great story. What if he comes back week 4, week 5, and he's awesome? We'll see what Mizzou's record is, but you want to talk about getting some Heisman consideration. People will give you a little bit of an extra edge. You go, this guy got shot in the leg in May, and he's back out there running all over fools. Yeah, he'll get some bumps in terms of consideration if that happens. But again,
story for sure.
Think of the person first and foremost. Glad Ahmad Hardy is safe and doing well. But now the grind is on. And the good thing is they kept Jamal Roberts, who was a nice backup last year, 900 yards rushing as the backup. So a pretty good piece to have there as the backup in case he has to carry the load. So
yeah, he's probably as good as just about any RB2 in the league, right? I mean, Jamal Roberts is a good player.
As we head out here, guys, did want to mention we're 2 weeks out from the SEC meetings in Destin. I'm just curious, go around the horn real quick. What's the biggest topic you guys want to hear addressed at the SEC meetings? Steven, we'll start with you.
I want to see what it's like whenever Pete Golding meets Lane Kiffin down there, meets Steve Sarkisian, exactly what that looks like. I know publicly they're going to say, oh, we're friends. We sing songs together. It's so awesome. Our relationship is great. I want to know what that's really like because I think there might be a little bit of ice there, honestly.
Put them at the same dinner table. See how interesting that gets.
Yeah, 1 year ago, 16-team playoff, everyone seemed to be on the same page at 16 teams. Let's see what's changed 1 year later. There seems to be a ton of momentum behind the 24. The ACC coaches and ADs met, and they seem to be singing from the same hymnal as it relates to the 2014 playoff. Let's see how many SEC tunes have changed, if any, because they were pretty adamant about sticking with 16 1 year ago.
Yeah, I'm with you there with as far as the expansion goes. Like that was the main thing I was curious about. Like, what do they think about the expansion? How does their tune change on the automatic qualifiers that they were talking about being in favor of last year? Like what are the narratives that change? What are the narratives that they stay with? Do they unanimously vote for the 2014 playoff? And does that kind of thing happen? Are they okay with possibly losing the SEC championship? Like what comes out of that?
I still want an SEC Big Ten scheduling game. If it takes automatic qualifiers and expanded playoff to get that, I'd like to see every SEC team play in a Big Ten team.
Well, even if we don't get that, you know what I want to hear Greg Sankey say, guys, you don't have to play a tough non-conference game anymore. I looked at what Indiana's doing. I look at the BS some of these other schools are doing, USC, not even trying to test themselves. You know what? Go play 3 cupcakes. We expanded from 8 to 9 games in the SEC. Guess what? You don't have to go play a tough non-conference. Go schedule 3 cupcakes like Indiana did last year, like Indiana's doing this year, and go try to get yourself into the playoff. Because, again, it's stupid for the SEC to still hold themselves to that standard that you have to go play a tough Power 4 team in the non-con on top of playing 9 SEC games. It's just ridiculous.
You know why they do that, right? Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Louisville, Florida State.
No, but you can still keep those schools.
Yeah, but those teams don't want to be at a disadvantage. They want everybody in the conference to be doing the same thing. That's the reason that rule exists.
I've heard go ask those schools. They'll tell you, even if they change that rule tomorrow, South Carolina would say we still want to play Clemson every year. I mean, the rivalries still want to be played. They can still play those. I'm just saying, don't hold everybody to the standard of having to play it when you got Indiana's cakewalking into the playoff every year playing nobodies in the non-con. It's ridiculous.
You know what Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin are going to say? You want cupcakes? Go schedule Ole Miss 12 times.
Yes.
That's what they're going to say.
Times. Weird.
And basket weaving.
Yes.
Yeah. Basket weaving.
Jets, that is where we're going to leave it this week on our SEC Squad Show. Thanks again to Steven, Corey, Jimmy. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been our SEC Squad Show. And again, become an everydayer. Check us out. We'll have you covered all throughout the offseason as we get ever so closer. Gosh, it's almost into the summer. The season is almost here. Talking all things SEC right here on the SEC Squad Show.